listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM, cklu.ca. Just click on the Radio Player Canada app. You can stream us, download it, and you can take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We're also live streaming at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channels and the pages. Mainly comment. This is your conversation on your station. Glad to be here with you today on the Friday, July the 19th today. I can't believe how the time is a-flying, and we're getting off to another late start today. Totally different reason. Every day is a different reason, but we're here, and we're going to begin the show with an interesting story talking about technology, and it's breaking news, actually. So let's do something we don't normally do, and that's just start off the show with a little bit of breaking news, because you might have heard something already, what's going on around the world, but we might as well just fill you in. This is coming from CTV, and we'll be back right after this. Sorry, wrong one. That's coming a little bit later. Here you go. Speaking of technology, and the page will have to load and give me a bunch of trouble here. There you go.
So I want to show you the Madrid airport, if we could. This is one of many airports, apart from the U.S., Asia, Australia, New Zealand, other parts of Europe as well, also affected by this. It seems this outage is linked to, as Anne-Marie was alluding to, computers and the cybersecurity company CrowdStrike. Yeah, CrowdStrike. So Microsoft has said they are aware of an issue affecting Windows devices because an update from a third-party platform is causing this. CrowdStrike saying the issues are caused by a defect in a content update. Now, I don't really know what that means, but that's what they're telling us. Airlines have been hit particularly hard, with more than 1,000 flights canceled around the world so far. The organizing committee for the Paris Olympics, let's talk about that, because they're saying they're also affected by this. What are we, 1 week before the games open? Yeah, they open on Friday. The opening ceremony is Friday. They say contingency plans are in place. We have seen some impact here in Canada. If you're wondering about that, we're working to identify those pockets of outages. So we'll bring you more as we learn more.
So, okay, they're going to bring us more as they learn more, but that's all we have so far. There's a glitch. Microsoft apparently involved, or at least it has to do with Microsoft. So any business that used anything Microsoft based could be affected. That is banks, airlines, governments, educational, medical, you name it. There's glitches going on. I think it started 2 days ago, to tell you the truth. At work, we were having technical difficulties with all kinds of things, mainly to do, I know I just went to scan something and have it, our scanner, our printer, you just scan it to your email and it comes to your email. And that was taking like an hour and a half to come in. And sometimes wouldn't come in till the next day. So and then this came out saying, oh, there's some kind of glitch, and, it's to do with Microsoft. And who owns Microsoft? I forgot. What's his name again? Oh, yeah, that guy. So that's interesting, the fact that it's coming from something to do with Microsoft. He's been alleged to be involved in all kinds of things to do with, conspiracy theories. to do with,
So-
his role in,
To find a food star, Gordon faces his big.
close that, his role in rolling out a lot of nefarious things on a global scale. And here you have something to do with his company crippling. And you could see how in the future, if you wanted to, or someone wanted to, or it's possible, how you take something like this and it could totally cripple a country, a continent, the world, basically. And they're saying a global technology outage grounded flights, knocked banks and hospital systems offline, and media outlets off air today in a massive disruption that affected companies and services around the world and highlighted dependence on software from a handful of providers. So, exactly. The power is in the hands of a few. If they want to just flick on the light or flick it off, let's say someone bumped their head in the morning and just said, "You know what? I'm having a bad day, and I'm just going to take everyone out with me." Who's to say? Now that's at least it's showing that we're very vulnerable, to say the least, to a few companies out there. That's bizarre. Just goes to show. Cybersecurity from CrowdStrike said that the issue believed to be behind the outage was not a security incident or cyber attack, and that a fix was on the way. The company said the problem occurred when it deployed a faulty update to computers running Microsoft Windows. But hours after the problem was first detected, the disarray continued and escalated. We are severely affected. We're pushed off air for hours. Hospitals and doctors' offices had problems with their appointment systems, while banks in South Africa and New Zealand reported outages to their payment system or website and apps. Some athletes and spectators descending on Paris ahead of the Olympics were delayed, but the games organizers said disruptions were limited and didn't affect ticketing or the torch relay. And then there's a name of a company, Down Detector, which tracks user-reported disruptions on the internet, recorded that airlines, payment platforms, and online shopping websites across the world were affected. Although the disruption appeared piecemeal and was apparently related to whether the companies used Microsoft cloud-based services, cyber expert James Bohr said real harm would be caused by the outage because systems we've come to rely on at critical times are not going to be available. Hospitals, for example, will struggle to sort out appointments, and those who need care may not get it. There are going to be deaths because of this. It's inevitable, Bohr said. We've got so many systems tied up with this. Microsoft 365 posted on social media platform X, interesting, that the company was working on rerouting the impact traffic to alternate systems to alleviate impact, and that they were observing a positive trend in service availability. The company did not respond to a request for comment. Now, the CrowdStrike CEO posted on X that the company is actively working with customers impacted by the defect found in a single content update for Windows hosts. He said, "This is not a security incident or cyber attack. The issue has been identified, isolated, and a fix has been deployed." The Austin, Texas-based company NASDAQ traded shares where they were down nearly 15% in pre-market trading early today. A recording playing on its customer service said CrowdStrike is aware of the reports of crashes on Microsoft ports related to the Falcon sensor, referring to one of its products used to block online attacks. So that's one of the glitches is with the product used to prevent online attacks. although they say there are no, it's not a cyber attack, nothing to worry about. But the glitch is related to the Falcon sensor, referring to one of its products used to block online attacks. So it gets a little bit interesting there, right? CrowdStrike also did not respond to a request for comment. Meanwhile, government officials and companies across the world scrambled to respond. New Zealand's acting prime minister said on X, well, X is widely used by a lot of people, apparently. Seems to be the place where people will put out press releases. That's the new press release software platform for sure. That officials in the country were moving at a pace to understand the potential impacts, adding that he had no information indicating it was a cybersecurity threat. The issue was causing an inconvenience for the public and businesses, he added on Friday. Now, this is just an indication of how, dependent we are on electricity and software and computers and you name it. We're so dependent, right, as a society. And I don't think we've really given it much thought if something like this is just small time, really. Let's just say everything went down. All a country has to do is deploy an effective EMP attack, and it puts out all technology. Done. Gonzo. Fries all the computer chips. And where are all the computer chips made in the world, right? Not here. And so it leaves a population very vulnerable when we are so dependent on this system. So on Friday morning, major delays reported at airports grew, with most attributing the problems in booking systems of individual airlines. Wow, just that alone, wreaking havoc on the airlines booking system and stuff. That would just create mayhem around the world. In the U.S., the FAA said the airlines United, American, Delta, and Allegiant had all been grounded. Allegiant, I don't know, I've never even heard of that airline. But anyways, airlines and railways in the UK were also affected with longer than usual waiting times, with athletes and spectators arriving from around the world for the Paris Olympics. The city's airport authorities said computer systems were not affected by the outage, but that disruptions to airline operations was causing delays to two major airports in Paris. The Paris Olympics organizers said the outage affected their computer systems and the arrival of some delegations and their uniforms are accreditations that have been delayed. Interesting wording that people use. But the impact was limited, the organizers said, and the outages had not affected ticketing or the torch relay, we already said, right? So there's a few other things, goes on and on. If you want to read more about that, you can go to CTV. I went CTV Northern Ontario, and I found this particular story. I think it just continues to say what we basically said in effect. So we'll see how it goes today, if the problem is indeed dealt with, or if it's going to get worse. So lucky us, we'll have to see. It just shows, again, our vulnerability and our dependence on a few to provide basically what holds our world together with computers and electronics and technology and software, electricity, it all vulnerable. And if it goes down, one computer glitch could probably cause, the whole world to shut down, which is incredible. Like at the right place, I'm saying, at the top, wherever, in the chain of, technology, you can just take it all out in one shot. Done. So fun stuff. Anyways, we'll be back with some weather, your comments, news headlines, a deep dive into the climate, which we're so excited to do today, just to educate ourselves from experts, because we hear a lot about this stuff all the time, But let's get some experts to dive into the media. Let's debunk some fallacies that are out there. Let's get some experts talking about what's really going on, because we want to be informed about that, right? I do anyways. So we'll be back with some weather right after this. And Sudbury weather brought to you by Duck Check. Visit duckcheck.com. Give them a shout at 705-918-4848. Let them know we sent you. You'll get $100 off your next inspection and duct cleaning. Currently, it is 12 degrees. It's mainly sunny out there. You can expect it to be sunny all day, becoming a mix of sun and cloud. Sorry, it won't be all day, just in the morning. Mix of sun and cloud this afternoon, and the high will be 25. Humidex will feel like 28. UV index will be 7 or high. Tonight, clearing this evening, and the low will be 16. Saturday, increasing cloudiness. Early in the morning with a 60% chance of showers now, up from 30% predicted yesterday. Risk of thunderstorm in the afternoon. High of 23 with the humidex, 28. And 5 or moderate for your UV index. Saturday, there will be, like we said, a 60% chance of showers, high of 23. Then sunny on Sunday, high of 24. 30% chance of showers on Monday, 21, 24, and mix of sun and cloud on Tuesday. 30% chance of showers on Wednesday, high of 26. Mix of sun and cloud, high of 27 on Thursday. Look at your satellite. Just looks pretty darn clear to me, but you can see some of those clouds rolling in from the west that we might get a little bit later. And there's our thunderstorm activity coming across the Manitoba border that we can expect possibly tomorrow afternoon. That is your Sudbury weather brought to you by Duck Check. Visit duckcheck.com. Give them a call at 705-918-4848. Let them know we sent you and get $100 off your next duct cleaning and inspection. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more right after this. Okay, and we are indeed back, and thankful that you're still with us. I'll have to get you up here on my other device to see how many people are with us. But in the meantime, I can see a lot of you have already commented. And first to the YouTube party this morning is Nana. Good morning. And I guess we are not allowed to say conspiracy theories and name former presidents, or you can get hit with the circle of death or possibly taken off one of the platforms. Exactly. So yesterday I noticed Bob said that we were taken off YouTube, and so I thought the video would be totally taken down too, but apparently was there on demand at least. But I'm not sure why halfway through the show the live feed stopped. Who knows? Maybe it was part of this glitch, this Microsoft glitch. We're not sure. Monique says, good morning, Sudbury, with a smiley emoji. Much appreciated. Oh, it's actually a sunshine emoji. And Debbie, good morning, smiley emoji. Liette, good morning from Collingwood. And Marianne in the same vicinity. Good morning, everyone from Barrie, liked and shared as usual. And Belinda with a positive statement of the day. Good morning, Belinda. In these dark times, it's those small acts of kindness that keep us alive. After all, they reminded us of our humanity. Our humanity is what we fight for, and this is how we win. With small acts of kindness. Indeed. It's very simple. Doesn't cost anything. Doesn't have to cost anything. Could cost a little bit if you wanted to gift someone something that they had a need of. Yeah. It's, again, a smile, a handshake, a hug, a positive word. It really doesn't take much to lift someone's spirits. You know that, right? Like, I remember becoming aware of that and just going around and saying, hey, how you doing? Or smiling at strangers, not to be creepy or anything, but just smile and nod and how you doing? Passing by. I just knew that that was positive and it lifted their spirits. And it was something I had the ability to do. Didn't cost anything. Didn't take up my time to do, but it made a positive impact. And if you give a compliment, You smile at somebody, you just acknowledge them, listen even if someone's telling you something, like really listen to what they're saying. Things like that. It goes a long way. So thank you very much, Belinda, for that. That would change the world if everyone would just take upon themselves that small acts of kindness philosophy. Marianne, imagine if everything went digital like they want. Oh, I know. Yeah, totally cashless. Totally. Like, at least if you have cash as a backup, we should keep cash going, even if it's just to say as a backup in case something like this happens. You never want to get entirely rid of it. Kevin, good morning to my good morning to my loved ones. I hope everyone is having a great day. As always, same to you, Kevin. Cash is king. That is Marianne. And BG is corrupt. BG. I don't know exactly what that stands for, but I could be, you know what I mean? It's a morning. Today, especially a long week, very tired. So I apologize if I'm not knowing what the acronym is. Marianne, I swear they do this to erase information. Possibly. And Jill, good morning from North Bay. Hope you're having a great morning. I heard there's a company that in North Bay that's probably going out of business and laying off, or I guess 275 odd people are going to be losing their jobs. And was it cellulose? Something like that? Factory? Anyways, it's in the headlines here. I was going to get to it eventually, but I was going through all the headlines this morning. Sad day for North Bay for sure today. Marianne, doctors should never depend on technology. 100% agree for sure, Monique. And this is the thing. A friend of mine was in the hospital when they turned over to 100% computerized delivery of meds. So they go around with this tray with a computer screen on it, and the computer tells them what meds to give and the amounts. And that's what they go by. They don't go by anything else other than the computer. And right away, my friend and I said, what could ever go wrong here? You know, and look, we're only a couple weeks out, and now we see what could go wrong. You never want to be that dependent on something like that. What are we thinking? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So Belinda says, evil can never survive forever, though for a time it may seem to triumph. It is only a question of our endurance and patience to believe the world is seeing how evil our government is. Humanity will prevail. I thought also it was an interesting timing, you know, with the RNC yesterday, that this virus or whatever that's going around causing all these problems happened the day after. Just some crazy things going on in the world. And I can guarantee you, or your money back, crazier things are in the future. And I wish I could say, wow, we're getting crazy and we just hope we can have some normalcy. But I can guarantee you that things are going to get even crazier. Like, we're just seeing the warm up from the last 4 years and from the last couple weeks. It's really going to get interesting. So you're going to have to really kind of put on your big boy pants, pull up your socks, or your big girl pants, and, you know, really, prepare, if you will, for what's in store for us. Because like Belinda said, the idea of evil being out there, yes, it hasn't come to full fruition yet. It hasn't really shown its true nature yet. It's kind of been lying for many years, and two ways: lying to us and lying in wait to kind of pounce as a predator would on its prey, and about to do that. And a lot of people say, wow, you're speaking very cryptically, and where do you get this information from? Well, it comes from many, many years of looking into how our world functions, who's behind things, and many of the people listening here or watching will know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's up to you to find out whether or not that statement has any validity. And we'll just leave it at that. So seems to be all by design. That's what Marianne is saying. I would have to say I would agree. Would they ever tell anyone the truth? Emoji. That's a emoji. And Nana, that's really scary stuff. Yes, for sure. Remember the Blackout and Vanguard that own all of these, or all that are affected? Yeah, no, for sure. We'll have to really. Oh, those two names, just saying those online could get us in trouble too, right? You can't just say people's names of companies or doctors' names or viruses' names or medicine names. You can't just say that anymore. You get censored. It's weird. Trump loves them. But that's Denise. And Belinda says, I guess it's not a conspiracy theory anymore to be a prepper. When was it ever bad anyways to be prepared for anything? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say you were wrong. So let's say you're putting a lot of resources into prepping and getting ready for things, and you were wrong. Wow, well, now you got tons of food. You got it on sale. If you need ketchup, let's say, and you're out of ketchup, you don't have to run to the grocery store. You go to your food storage, grab a ketchup, come back. You're good. You need to rotate it anyways. So you kind of become, it's way more financially feasible, or it's financially, it's more sound financially because you're buying a lot of things on sale in bulk you would buy anyways. And eventually it's better for your pocketbook. Personally, I feel it's overrated. Looking at little children, a year old, sitting in a crib, looking at a cell phone, taking tantrums if you take the cell phone away. We are too dependent on and addicted too much to technology. I would agree. And sad for the people that just give a toddler a cell phone. And you know what I mean? It's the babysitter now, right? And it rewires your brain, and we know that through scientific experiments and things. It rewires your brain if you're always on the phone. And adults, almost as bad. You know what I mean? Like, we have to really watch that. Always be prepared, Marianne says. And good morning, Pat. Thanks for being with us. Denise, it's said North Korea will hit the USA. Yeah, North Korea is a loss. It's a wild card out there. Who knows? I have a good intel resource person that believes that North Korea will be a major player in some things moving forward. Marianne, how dare we have political view? For sure. It's too bad we need politics in some ways. Oh, I got it now, Marianne. The BG. Got it. The owner of Microsoft. 100%. If you look back into the owner of Microsoft, history, it's an interesting deep dive. I recommend people to do that. And then see the things he's doing. So look into his history, who his mom and dad are. Look how he started his company, and look how he rose to power. And then now look what he's doing with his power. Don't just listen to him, like what he says or what the news says about him, because that's basically what he's saying about himself. Look into who he really is, what he's really about, what he really believes. It could be scary. It is scary. So he doesn't like you, put it that way. Denise, I'm wondering if people here are having memory problems. Possibly. I'm also wondering if people here notice he can't take a good deep breath of oxygen sometimes. Also problems with lower leg extremities. Okay, who are we talking? Okay, I'm just trying to remember who we might have been talking about. I'm not sure. But anyways, we'll come back to that, and maybe it'll come to me just like the BG did. Yes, I also noticed for 2 years now, trees are slowly dying. That's interesting. Kind of noticed that too. Driving up to Timmins, which I'll be doing shortly again. There's a lot of trees to look at there. That's all there is. You won't find very many people. It's probably the least populated stretch of highway I've ever been on for that long. And there's a lot of trees. And I noticed they don't look too healthy. Liette says digital banking is the end of freedom as we know it and complete control. It's a complete control system. Reliance on digital and technology will be a nightmare, and I agree with you on that one as well. Okay. Cool. Well, let's dive into some headlines here. It's too many to mention. It's like today I would really encourage everyone, head on over to our website, sudbury.news. There's so much, especially if you're interested in Sudbury news, you will see there's tons of news going on. Like I've never seen so many like Sudbury related news, and I could base so many shows on just what's here. And the first headline is what we're just talking about: widespread technology outage disrupts flights, banks, media outlets, and companies around the world. Right. So that's the first story coming from Sudbury.com, and then also Sudbury.com. Laurentian receives $2.17 million for STEM equipment. That's a lot of money. There's an invasive fish detected in northeastern Ontario. That would be huge news any other time, pre 5 years ago, let's say. That's huge. An invasive fish. Yeah. Global outage from CTV. 2 deaths in listeriosis outbreak linked to plant-based milk recall. Now, who do we know is behind a lot of plant-based things? We were already talking about him before. But anyways, listeria linked to plant-based milk recall. 2 people have died after an outbreak from that. That's huge stuff. And not all bad stuff. There's a Northern Ontario student. She made a duct tape dress, and it won an international contest. Dryden's Monica Walsh, same last name as myself. Color for Graduation dress has won her a $15,000 U.S. scholarship. Now that's pretty amazing. There was a student from the Northern Ontario School of Medicine, former medical student in Sudbury, accuses former supervisor and his brother of sexually harassing her 7 years ago. That's from Sudbury Star. So again, these are huge kind of headlines and stories. There's been a replacement for Steve Jauch in Sudbury, and Brendan Adair is now the new general manager of community development, Sudbury.com. There will be an employment event put on by Spark coming up shortly. Employment is a huge issue these days. Many people not getting it. That's the huge issue. Or not having any employment. Speaking of employment, applications are now accepted for Greater Sudbury's police chief. If you want to be the police chief of Sudbury, get your resume in. Board is planning to hold interviews in early September. Maybe you've passed your time to get your resume in, but visit SudburyStar.com to find out more about that, to see if you still have time to apply. And so the high purity cellulose plant in North Bay, they're closing that plant, and there's some 275 jobs that'll be lost. That's very sad news for North Bay. And they're reopening, remember Crane Hill Mine, they're reopening that, and that will gain another 150 jobs for Sudbury. It'll have a 15-year lifespan. That's what it's looking at. And that's by Magna. Magna marks launch of mining activity at Crane Hill. And then here's a press release that went out about the supervised consumption site here in Sudbury in the wake of Pierre Poilievre's comments about consumption sites. This is Sudbury MP Viviane Lapointe. She's calling that she's taking exception that Pierre Poilievre was calling the safe consumption sites not indeed safe, that there's nothing safe about them, but he also called them drug dens. And the Go Give Project and the RESO Access Network have issued joint statements, a joint statement. So again, we talked about, when there's government money out there to do certain things, you get organizations that kind of just come out of the woodwork and just start up because, okay, there's government money available. We can make an organization that will get this money. And then they make these organizations. And then when the funding runs out, they lobby the government to continue the cause that the government started in the first place. And then it looks like it's coming from grassroots. It's a great idea. It's a great plan to make people think, it's really grassroots. But it's because there was government money to begin with and the government initiated it. It didn't come from grassroots in the first place, right? But then organizations started up because government money was available, and that's going to be your livelihood now. You can be the CEO, the executive director of a not-for-profit that's going to have money coming in from the government. As soon as the money stops, then you lobby the government and you go to the press and you say, look at the needs. We need this thing. Well, you really need a job is what it is. I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm sorry about that. We don't hear enough angles like that out there, I don't think. And I think it's up in the air whether these things really help. And Pierre Poilievre made some good points. He wants to focus on rehabilitation, not on safe consuming of drugs. And I have to applaud that because if you've been on this show for a particular amount of time, that that's what I stand for. I didn't get it because he said it. He's just saying it now. I've said it before he even said it. So I agree with that because that's what I feel needs to be done. People need to be rehabilitated, not just fed safe drugs. So then you go down to this particular story that goes along with it, right? Because you need this two stories. So that was Sudbury.com as well as Sudbury Star. And I'm pretty sure I better get this quickly here. Increase in suspected drug poisonings in Sudbury, right? Do you think it's a coincidence these two stories came out at the same time? A warning is being issued for the Sudbury area about the increase in suspected drug poisonings. So drug poisonings are going on all the time. That's why you shouldn't do drugs to begin with, because it could kill you. I think that's probably the best message to get out there, other than, well, if you get addicted to it, don't worry, we got safe drugs for you. So you'll be fine being a drug addict. Really, that's not the message we want to be sending people in society. I just don't think it's positive for any society to have that message. So drug poisonings in Sudbury are on the rise. So obviously we need safe consumption sites to stay open, right? That's not a coincidence. Those two stories came out at the same time. Encampments growing again in wake of housing crisis. Full shelters. So this is from Sudbury.com. With the homelessness network stating they've only been able to house 2 people in the last 6 months. So here's an organization. I don't know how many employees they have. I don't know. They have an executive director. I don't know what other positions they have here, Homelessness Network. And they've only been able to house 2 people. That's what I'm saying. A lot of these things are very less effective. There's a lot of these organizations taking government money, but at the end of the day, there's nothing really being resolved. It gets worse. It keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Something's broke. You got to fix it. And the shelters are at capacity each night. More and more are turning to tents to survive, right? We had a pledge from our mayor the other day that there's going to be communistic style mass housing in urban areas to make, urban sprawl, to have urban density of people living in, government funded, encouraged housing for people to live in. That's our solution. And with that, we know that, the government's always making our lives much easier, right? And everything's getting better. I'm saying that sarcastically. So here, new study out from the University of Guelph. Get this up on the screen. New study out from the University of Guelph found that Trudeau's carbon tax will cost Canadian workers almost $7,000 per year by the year 2030. It will destroy 164,000 jobs and then still fail to achieve the government's emission reduction targets. So isn't that like just this one case in general, if you do a quick case study of government and what they do, it's right there. So they're going to tax us to death and cost us way more money. $7,000. Look, if someone was to go in your bank account right now, and it could happen with all these glitches, $7,000 every year out of your account. And you say, well, why are you taking $7,000 out of my bank account? Well, because we have these targets, these carbon targets that we're trying to achieve for you, for the planet. And we're going to destroy, maybe now you're going to be one of those 164,000 jobs they're going to destroy. And then they still don't accomplish what they said they were going to accomplish in the darn first place. So isn't that like just telling of anything they put their hands on? To me, it is. To me, that's what I would expect. Look, we're gonna come and give you a solution to a problem we've made up, kind of thing. Made up a problem, people will say. What do you mean? Climate change is real, and we need to do something about it. Okay, well, that's great. Well, thanks for joining the discussion, and we will have more of that in a few seconds. Well, also, this is breaking news. Ford is going to start producing pickups at Oakville Assembly Plant, scrapping the EV project. I wonder why. Ford announces plans to scrap their electric vehicle project in Oakville, choosing to produce gasoline and diesel F-Series and Super Duty pickup trucks instead. Okay, so I wonder why they're doing that. Well, there could be reasons for it, right? Maybe because they're a company and not a government, even though the government wants to give you billions of dollars in so-called investment money to start these things. The free market definitely doesn't want anything to do with them, and we might see why in our latest Climate Discussion Nexus conversation. We'll be back right after this.
For the Climate Discussion Nexus, I'm John Robson, with a thank you to Columbus, Ohio, which is number 39 on our list of cities for top CDN views, and a thank you to all our new YouTube subscribers. We made a pitch for 20,000 new subscribers to get us to 100,000, and as of this filming, we're already at 97. So welcome aboard, and if you're watching and haven't subscribed, please do, because it helps us get the word out and avoid deplatforming. And now, a big no thank you to Justin Trudeau, Canada's Prime Minister, who apparently believes that our country not only stinks, but is on fire. It seems that alarmists are all done with evidence-based decision-making here. Thus, on May 16th, responding to federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre seeking a summer holiday from Trudeau's carbon tax for Canadian drivers, the Prime Minister snarled, and I quote, "The country is burning," end quote. And he added for bad measure that his partisan adversary, quote, "would rather watch the country burn and Canadians suffer than continue to fight against climate change," end quote. What a bad man. Especially since you'd think that someone who flew in his government jet 20 times in the month of May alone, spewing carbon dioxide in enormous quantities, might be ever so slightly reticent about haranguing Canadians for wanting a summer car trip. Not at all. And Trudeau's health minister, Mark Holland, having himself flown back and forth across the country quite a bit lately, ranted that such holiday outings amounted to forcing kids to endure 10 hours in a vehicle with no bathroom break, just, quote, "to let the planet burn," end quote. But the planet is not burning, and neither is Canada. The slightly less untethered state-funded CBC limited itself to hectoring back in April that, quote, "the federal government says Canada could face another destructive wildfire season because of an unusually warm winter, widespread drought conditions, and a forecast of above normal temperatures in the months ahead," end quote. But once again, the notion that something could happen isn't very interesting or useful, especially if, say, you happen to live on a planet where there are roughly 70,000 wildfires a year. And that's a number that the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency shows is declining, before trying to blame an increase in wildfires on relentless global warming because the largest area burned on record was in 2015, nearly a decade ago. And after conceding that, quote, despite California's inferno, global wildfires are fizzling out, end quote, and then blaming climate change anyway, The Economist howled, quote, Canadians are taking dramatic steps to avoid more ruinous firestorms, end quote. Firestorms? Isn't that a word more often used of, say, Dresden or Tokyo in 1945? But this is 2024 and the media are ablaze. By the fourth paragraph, those fires had mutated into, and I quote again, alien monsters, end quote. But luckily, The Economist says, quote, Canada's fire services are mustering drones that drop dragon egg bombs, summoning the long-ignored wisdom of Indigenous peoples, and heeding the ancient counsel of an admonishing cartoon bear. That means relying on mitigation and preparation rather than mere suppression to deal with firestorms that many fear are Canada's new normal, end quote. Canada's new normal is that the country is not on fire, as usual, but it does have wildfires, as usual. However, welcome to the new stupid, because the land certainly is ablaze with that. Oh, and from the Now You Tell Us file, the Atlantic Weekly Planet suddenly admits that, quote, no one really understands clouds. They're one of the greatest climate mysteries left, end quote. Gosh, are they now? Because they're really important to patterns of warming and cooling, so if they're doing something we don't understand and it's important, then CO2 isn't the main issue and the science isn't settled, which is kind of important to the story. Now, that piece really is a giant step forward, at least in admitting things already known to those who follow the science rather than the science. It quotes an atmospheric scientist from the University of Chicago that, quote, clouds remain one of the least understood or least reliably predictable factors in our climate models. They are among the biggest uncertainties in predicting future climate change, unquote. Uncertainties in predicting climate change? And here you all seemed so certain. We've been given predictions of temperature in the year 2100 to fractions of a degree if we do, or do not, meet our Paris Accord commitments. We've been assured the models are vindicated and the debate is over. Year after year, decade after decade, it ends. And now you admit that water vapor has you baffled and it's not the only thing? Perhaps we should not jeer, because driving people back into their mental trenches isn't the best way to foster a more productive and open debate. But we have been taking abuse for decades for claiming this kind of thing, including specifically about clouds and water vapor, and so we do want some acknowledgement that we were, what's that word? Right. Meanwhile, continuing to draw on the work of Ottawa weather records without making any implication that its creator agrees with our interpretation of the data that he unearths, we also hear that in Canada's capital, May 31st was, quote, Ottawa's 31st consecutive day with maximum temperature above 14 degrees Celsius. This is the longest run before June 1st in more than 20 years, since May 31st, 1998, end quote. Which sounds like a warming trend, whatever 1998 was up to, except that, as usual, he publishes a chart ranking the top 10 such runs. And while 1998 is indeed in second, 2024 is sixth, and the reason it's still the longest run in more than 20 years is because fifth to third were way more than 20 years ago. 1887, 1896, and 1975. And meanwhile, the top spot is held by 1921, more than a century ago. You see, if you're not cherry-picking scary-looking temperature trends, what you get from the actual record looks a lot more like natural variability. And from the Oh Shut Up file, Scientific American has the gall to say, quote, Antarctica's doomsday glacier is melting even faster than scientists thought, end quote. Yes, again. So, if you won't shut up, then we do wish that you tell us how many times scientists have to say the glacier is melting even faster than scientists thought before scientists start to think that it's melting as fast as scientists say they think it is. And, for bonus points, how many times does it have to be melting faster than fast before it actually melts? Inquiring penguins want to know. Then, from the One Rule for Me file, social media entrepreneur, climate activist, and general annoyance Mark Zuckerberg has a new yacht. And when you hear the word yacht, please do not think small bucolic sailing vessel with two-bed cabin. We're talking about a 387-foot diesel-powered behemoth that still can't rival the yacht of online entrepreneur and climate activist scold Jeff Bezos. And from the law of unintended consequences, Canary Media chirps that, quote, Vermont is on the cusp of mandating 100% clean electricity by 2035. The state Senate approved the measure this week, putting Vermont on track to be among the first states to fully decarbonize its power grid, end quote. And here, need we really mention again that what politicians say will happen because of a piece of legislation and what really does happen because of it are not always exactly the same? Apparently we do. Especially since the piece adds, quote, advocates involved with the Vermont bill's passage told Canary Media that the new standard would underpin parallel climate efforts, like the state's bid to electrify its home heating sector, end quote. So, a measure to limit the state's access to electric power can be implemented alongside another measure that requires more electric power to be available, and they will work together? What's more, and again, it's from the piece, quote, the targets are far from an about-face for Vermont. Nearly all the electricity it generates in-state has come from renewable sources since 2015. But Vermont imports over half its power, including some fossil fuel-generated electricity, end quote. So, the good news here is that a state that already can't cover its energy needs from these fabled renewables is planning to increase its need for them while eliminating its backup option. What could possibly go wrong?
Thanks for that. I'm not used to using my my mute button anymore. I just did it while the video was on, so that way I could take a drink of my water and stuff like that. Thanks, guys. So funny. I used to do that all the time, But here we go. I was just going to say, Canada's going down the same road. We're now importing more electricity for the first time in history. That's what I was saying. And that's really terrible policies. Either it's incompetence or it's on purpose. Both you don't have an excuse for, and one you need to be thrown in jail for. That's what I said. So I'll just repeat that. Thanks for being with us, everyone. We really appreciate your time. Have a great weekend. It should be a good one. You're going to make it a good one regardless. You can do that. And we'll be back same time, same place, God willing, unless we have no technology working by Monday. We'll be back. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.